Chapter 21. The Voice in the Garden. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Since the ability. Drawing session was over, Su-Yang could do nothing but accept his fate. He went to the bathroom to wash the blood off his face and got all sentimental about how poor his fate was. I knew things wouldn't be this smooth. In the past few days, everything had been going well for him. His point-adding had been great, and even the kid that he was supposed to locate returned home by herself. As expected, fate toyed with him big time at this very moment. Fate must be jealous of how handsome I am. Su-Yang looked at his bruised nose in the mirror. He tried to cry but failed to shed a single drop. He really lost a huge deal in this ability. Drawing session. After he adjusted his mood, Su-Yang went out of the bathroom. Even though he did not get any ability that could help him in his English semester test, he was still hopeful. He still had 1.5 to 2 months before the test. By then, the lucky disfiguring brick's cooldown would be reset and he could gamble once more. Should he fail at that timing, he might have to welcome the first failed subject in his university life. He did consider smashing himself with the brick before the test, but the effect would only last for 30 minutes. Considering the fact that students had to arrive at the exam venue before the test started plus the time needed for the lecturers to distribute the test papers, it would be great if he had 10 minutes left on the timer for him to answer the paper. 10 minutes of lucky time was not enough for him to pass the subject. He tested the effects of the brick earlier and found out that the extent of his luck was not about knowing the answers to blanks, but he must first answer the question. After thinking about it, he would get a hunch about which or what answer to write. As for knowing the answer without looking at the question, it might be possible if Su-Yang flattened his face with the brick. Of course, he did have one more option other than smashing himself with the brick or drawing more ability from missions, which was to study English for real. He thought about it seriously, but he realized that if he really had the time to study, the results of his other subjects would have been near perfect. Therefore, he gave up on the option. Everyone's talent was different, and he did not want to forcefully change anything. After he mentally prepared himself for another ability. Drawing session, Su-Yang returned to his desk and checked his reward. He had to admit that the lucky disfiguring brick was useful. Otherwise, it would take him a long time to find out that randomly drawing the 3 same abilities would give him something extra related to the ability. Su-Yang tapped to get the ability, and right away, a series of guitar-related knowledge gushed into mind, including how to hold a guitar, how to read the music score, how to play a tune, and how to sing while playing, etc. The knowledge and techniques merged with him like his second instinct, as if he instantly became a professional guitarist who had been playing and singing for 7 to 8 years. He knew everything there was to know about a guitar. If he were to describe his current guitar level, he would probably say that he was only a step shy from becoming a full-time guitarist and could make it as an occupation. His skills were far better than the average guitar hobbyists. Unlike the first ability he got, Close Combat, maybe because playing the guitar needed him to have a certain level of musical knowledge, Su-Yang's mind was also filled with a lot of musical knowledge. It allowed him to grasp the rest of the musical instruments based on his level of guitar knowledge. He was able to more or less play other musical instruments and could even write 1 or 2 songs himself, but it might not turn out melodious enough. After all musical instruments shared the same musical theory. It was an expected surprise that cured his grievance by a lot. This ability might not be as useless as he thought. When he tried to sing, he realized that his voice was indeed more charming and melodious, but he did not know whether it was a psychological effect or not. Nevertheless, he did not have plans to become an actor or a singer. He just wanted to keep a low profile and earn money. How could this lousy ability earn him money? Besides, he would still have to buy a guitar, which meant that he must spend the money first before the ability could be of any use. On the second day, Su-Yang visited a guitar shop and spent 300 yuan on an entry-level guitar. He had been thinking about this for a whole night. A man's fate might be as uncertain as the weather. He might end up on the streets one day without any food on his plate. Until then, he could rely on the guitar to perform by the roadside or under the bridge to make a living. He passed by the bank after he came out of the guitar shop, so he conveniently transferred 5,000 yuan to his parents. Since he got richer, he should change his parents' way of life for the better. His parents insisted on not taking his money. It was his hard-earned money after all, and everything cost a lot in the big city. His parents blamed themselves for not being able to provide him with equal conditions to compete with other children, so they did not want to drag their son back. In the end, after Su Yang persuaded them in every possible way, they accepted the money. However, they said they would keep it for him in case he got married in the future. Su Yang did not care since old folks tended to behave as such. He just wanted his parents to have the money. If they needed the money, they would be able to use it. Even if they did not, he would feel better with them having the money. The older generation had lived through some tough days, but the virtue of saving and the spirit to endure hardship lived in the hearts of the people of Huaxiao. Carrying his newly bought guitar, he banked in 27,000 yuan into his own account and then headed to the campus while humming a melody. After he found an empty garden in the faculty, he sat down and put his guitar strap around his neck. His fingers simply touched the strings, and at that moment, images flashed through his mind. The guitar felt like his best friend that he had grown up with. He felt very familiar with every aspect of it and did not feel as stiff as before. Su Yang tried out all 6 of the guitar strings, and with his many years of experience in playing the guitar, his ears were able to tell that the tunes were off. He tried to adjust the tune of the strings according to his gut feeling, and after being tormented for a full 5 minutes, he finally tuned the 6 strings according to the standard of his memories. However, that was the best that he could do. The melody of this guitar was not as good as the one in his memory since it was just an entry-level instrument. After he tuned the guitar, he embraced it closely. His eyes were gazing at the flowers and lush of the garden, but at that moment, he did not know what to sing. What should I play? I don't think I know that many songs either. Su Yang stared blankly at the garden for a while and finally remembered a song that he used to listen to. He tested out a few chords and started humming. Countless chilly winds once caressed my chest. The farthest dream once forced me to gaze into the stars. I was once sneered at and mocked countless times, telling me to give up my melodious dream. I was once drowned by lust, washing away my passion. A voice of a boy singing the complaints of his life softly echoed in the garden. As the class secretary of Chinese literature in the Faculty of Arts of Shanghai University, Chu Xia was actually busy. Apart from having to organize the tasks assigned by the lecturers before distributing them to the students, she also had to help the students to deal with explain all sorts of problems to the lecturers. Even if she did not have any class that day, she had to make many trips to the office and the faculty. After all, other than the tasks from the lecturers, she still had to deal with the tasks from the student committee and mentors. She had just finished a meeting at the cultural club with the student committee. Shanghai University was collaborating with 2 more other universities to organize a singing competition on campus. The cultural club had given her a task to find at least 1 participant from each class. She headed to the dorm right after the meeting. When she walked past a little garden, she heard someone singing while playing the guitar. She loved music ever since she was young and was rather familiar with all kinds of musical instruments. Therefore, for whatever reason, she quietly took a detour to the garden. After she went into the garden, she saw the back of a boy being blocked by a significant portion of the parterre. The boy was carrying a guitar and tuning the strings. Is he tuning by ear? Chu Xia was slightly surprised. Such a technique was not difficult to master, but one must have a certain talent and a set of good ears. Furthermore, one must be experienced. Only a musician who had been making music for years could tune by ear alone. Besides, in modern society, no matter how keen the human ear was, they were no match for the accuracy of a tuner. Therefore, it was rare for a guitarist to tune by ear. As she listened to the change of tune on the strings, Chu Xia was certain that the person had not tuned the guitar beforehand with a tuner. It was not to show off. Instead, the person was really listening to the chords and tuning it one by one. Soon, the strings were tuned. The boy somehow went blank for quite a while as if he was thinking about something. Chu Xia waited for 2 minutes, but the boy had yet to sing. Just when she wanted to leave because she thought the boy's mind had wandered off and he did not plan to sing, a few simple chords burst out and a charming, magnetic and somewhat familiar voice entered her ears. Chapter 22. Campus Singing Competition. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Countless chilly winds once caressed my chest. The farthest dream once forced me to gaze into the stars. Chu Xia was surprised again. The singing was good. Be it the accuracy of the technical notes or the talent in grasping the melody, they were amazing. It was no longer a self-entertaining hobby anymore. He was more like a professionally trained guitarist. Who is that? Is he a student of the Faculty of Art? The boy continued to sing in the garden. I was once sneered and mocked countless times, telling me to give up my melodious dream. I was once drowned by lust, washing away my passion. As she quietly listened to the singing, Chu Xia could not help but be drawn to the voice. It was really soothing, no, amazing in fact. Chu Xia's vocabulary was limited when it came to describing the singing. She thought that complimenting the voice, good or nice, was the highest compliment. In her opinion, the other descriptions were pure flattery. After the song was finished, Chu Xia could not help but take back her previous guess. This boy was definitely not a student of the faculty as his voice and style were too matured. He could easily be a semi-professional or a full-timer. While Chu Xia was being impressed by the voice, the boy put the guitar aside and stood up to stretch his body. He turned around and met her gaze. The boy was surprised before he greeted Chu Xia with a bright smile. "Yo, Ms. Secretary, what a coincidence." Chu Xia looked at the boy's face with a blank expression. Her mind could not comprehend the situation because she was very familiar with his face. She opened her mouth and disbelief escaped her tongue as she said, "Su Yang." Standing against the sun, Su Yang's decent face looked a little dazzling. It even caused Chu Xia's heart to skip a beat. She added, How could it be you?" Chu Xia's question stunned Su Yang for a moment before he replied with a confused expression, "Who else could it be? I don't have a twin." Even though the surprise caused Chu Xia's mind to go blank for a moment, she quickly recovered to her senses. Her confident and casual air returned. "You can play the guitar. Why didn't I hear you talk about it before?" "You didn't ask," Su Yang said. My, look who's so good with his words now." Right before Chu Xia could ask any further, Su Yang asked, "Must you talk like this with the parterre in between us?" Chu Xia then finally noticed the parterre in between them, so she had to raise her voice louder. She blushed as she realized that she was being dumb earlier. She walked to Su Yang, seeming a lot more relaxed beside him. "You are quite good with the guitar. Have you practiced it for a long time?" Su Yang spread his hands out. "If I say that today is my first day, will you believe me?" Chu Xia showed a bright smile and her eyes curled up into 2 sharp crescent moons. "Of course, I won't believe you." Su Yang said, "Then, I can't do anything. I never lie." Chu Xia clicked her tongue in disdain and added, "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to pick you up," he said. Chu Xia was stunned at first, but she quickly realized that Su Yang might be joking again. Her mind spun rapidly as she said, "It seems like you already know that we are going to hold a singing competition on campus. I welcome you. Thank you for supporting the class and my work." "What singing competition?" Su Yang was baffled. Chu Xia took out a proposal from her files and showed it to him. Have a look. Su Yang glanced over at the title. Time Recording Company proudly organizes and sponsors the singing competition on campus that is to be held by 3 universities as a collaboration. He pushed the proposal back. Not interested. Why not? Chu Xia asked. I don't have time. I have to work part-time to earn money and study. How do you think I got that many as in the first place? This kind of competition is more suitable for people who treat university life as their honeymoon period. As for me, I'm more suitable to be a viewer. I'll applaud from a side. Su Yang then carried his guitar and then tapped Chu Xia's shoulder. Well then, Ms. Great Secretary, I'll be on my way. You can go get busy. He then left the garden while humming a melody, but just as he stepped out of the garden, his steps froze for a moment. Ha! There's no beep and no mission. Is this son of a B*TCH system getting kinder? Su Yang did not believe it. He opened the system interface and checked, but he did not get any mission. How strange. This system always knows how to use the situation and get into the tiniest holes, yet it didn't give me a mission for the talent show. Is it broken? However, he would save himself a lot of problems if the system did not give him a mission for the competition. With that in mind, he returned to his basement with his guitar. He did not have a class today and actually planned to visit Tang Dafa to collect his commission. The visit to the guitar shop was an impromptu one and he headed to the campus because he was nearby. Furthermore, he was afraid to disturb his neighbor by playing the guitar in his basement. After he tested out his ability, it was time for him to visit Tang Dafa. He got on the bus, and after a 40-minute journey, Su Yang reached Dafa Gold Shop. The shop was still dazzling and golden as ever. Su Yang got to know the salesperson a little better. He greeted her and headed straight into Tang Dafa's office. He got through the dragon gate, with the koi fish sculpture leaping over and reached Tang Dafa's office. After knocking on the door, Tang Dafa's voice called out, "Come in." Su Yang walked in. Tang Dafa was sitting at his desk reading a book that had 3 big words on it. Book of Changes 1. Yo, look at you reading something that deep. If Su Yang had not realized that the book was upside down, he might have believed that Tang Dafa was actually reading it. When Tang Dafa saw Su Yang, his fat face broadened with his signature smile while his eyes curled up and his golden teeth were enchanting. He put the book down and came up grinning widely. My, isn't this our brother Su? What brings you here? Why didn't you inform me beforehand? Tang Dafa's enthusiasm scared Su Yang a little, but once he knew he must have helped the man earn a lot, he immediately understood the situation. He smiled and answered, I didn't want to trouble you, little boss Tang. Come on, stop with the little boss Tang. Just call me brother Tang from now on. Tang Dafa patted Su Yang's shoulder and pretended to be vexed. Su Yang went along with the flow. Okay, brother Tang. Tang Dafa brought him to the desk and with his ever-bright smile, he said, Brother Su, you must be here for the commission, am I right? Since Tang Dafa was this succinct, Su Yang felt extra comfortable and he nodded. Yes, I'm here for the commission. I found Tang Xiaomi and you should have heard about it by now. Tang Dafa nodded. Yeah, I got the news that night. It's okay. Ms. Tang transferred the money to me that night itself. As he spoke, he happily fished out a red envelope from his drawer and passed it to Su Yang. We will split it 50.50. Here's your share. Su Yang happily took the red envelope, but when he touched it, the volume was thinner than he expected. His smile somewhat froze. Disregarding courtesy, he opened it for a look. Inside the red envelope were 3 pieces of red Grandpa Mao notes, looking rather lonely inside. Su Yang asked in disbelief, Brother Tang, only 300. Tang Dafa's smile was as sincere as ever. Yes, my brother. Every fortune-telling session costs 600, so since we are splitting it, 300 is the correct amount. Chapter 23. Silver Mission. First bucket of gold. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. While Tang Dafa was all smiles, Su Yang frowned as he curled his hands into fists tightly. Truth be told, he did not believe a word Tang Dafa said. If Su Yang had not seen Tang Jing's luxurious car and villa or receive a thick red envelope from her, which contained a whopping 10,000 yuan inside, maybe Su Yang would have believed Tang Dafa. However, he saw the luxurious car and villa and accepted the 10,000 yuan gift. Therefore, he did not believe that Tang Dafa would only charge Tang Jing 600 yuan per fortune-telling session. 600 yuan was like the price of a meal to people like Tang Jing. Besides that, Su Yang had helped find her daughter, so how could she only pay 600 yuan for it? Unfortunately, it was all a guess and Su Yang did not have any evidence to prove it, so all he could do was force a smile on his face in agreement. I see. Tang Dafa was a smart and cunning man. As if he did not notice Su Yang's suppressed anger, the man did not even reveal a change of emotion on his face. His face was as sincere and as kind as ever. 300 yuan isn't a small amount, am I right? Besides, we shouldn't focus on the present. We must look into the future since we might be able to collaborate even more. If Su Yang had not been sure about Tang Dafa cheating his money before, he was certain now. He suppressed his emotions and asked, "Little boss Tang, what's the plan for our future collaboration?" Tang Dafa laughed and showed off his shining gold teeth again, resembling someone with an evil plan. "We'll discuss this later since I practically can get any kind of business. I'm a fair person. I don't dare to assure you anything else, but I can tell you one thing. As long as I have a pie on my table, you will be able to have a slice. Of course, if you wanted to join us as a single entity, that's also possible. It's not much, only 1 million as the base fund, and if you have the money, we will be working partners." Because Tang Dafa did not show any disdain in his words, he did not sound like he was mocking Su Yang. Instead, he sounded even more sincere than before. However, Su Yang felt chills from what the man said. Tang Dafa was practically telling him that the two of them were not on the same level. If Su Yang wanted to follow him and earn some extra money, he would have to be willing to take the smaller share. On the other hand, if Su Yang wanted to have a fair working relationship, he would have to bring his own chips to the table. On second thought, it was actually how society worked nowadays. Without money or power, one could only work for other people, earning scraps after a whole month of hard work. The value that one created would be taken away by the company or the boss. On top of that, one must pray to not get fired for whatever reasons while hoping to get paid on time every month. However, if one was rich or had the power, one could propose a fair working relationship. Power could bring wealth, and wealth would then multiply by using other people's time or even life. All Tang Dafa did was show Su Yang the cruel rules of the society in its raw and bloody state, indirectly telling him, "Make a choice, young man." Su Yang's hands that were holding the red envelope somehow relaxed, and so did the look on his face as he gawked at Tang Dafa and said, 1 million. I was expecting something else. If I can earn 1 million, why would I want to join you? Are you or your people even worthy enough? After that, he shoved the red envelope with 300 yuan into his pocket and walked out of Tang Dafa's office without looking back. The office door slowly closed as he walked out, leaving the altar of the 5 paths fortune gods behind him. He looked up and saw the sculpture of a golden koi fish. The koi fish leaping over the dragon gate. 1 million was not a huge amount. With the system in his possession, if he could not earn 1 million, he would not be qualified to change his life altogether. He would be no different than a salted fish. Let's see whether I can earn 1 million. It was not to slap Tang Dafa in the face or prove himself to the man. Su Yang just wanted to test out whether he was capable of doing so or not. Following his strong determination, a beep from the system sounded in his head. It had been a while. Triggered silver mission. First bucket of gold. Su Yang tapped on it and realized that this was probably the most detailed mission from the system. Silver mission. First bucket of gold, mission objective. Earn your first million, mission duration. 6 months, mission remark. The greatest thing about this era is its uncertainty. No one knows where or who the miracle will happen to. This silver mission is a branch of the Road to Zenith mission series. Please approach it carefully. Silver mission, the Road to Zenith. After he walked out of Dafa Gold's shop, Su Yang looked up at the blue Shanghai sky. All the young ones thought they had missed out on the best era to live in. They missed the period of reformation and liberalization as well as the birth of the internet and the mobile network. They always fantasized about being born in that period and dreamed about how rich or how powerful they would become. However, the modern era was expanding at a speed that surpassed the human imagination. They might be standing on the tip of the next trend without even knowing. Maybe in 5 or 10 years, one would realize that one was actually standing on the crest of the wave of revolution. The current industry was already broken and worn down. While the giants of the internet formed their own territories and drew clear lines around them to fend off competition, maybe the future leaders were clasping their hands together for a challenge, and perhaps the new ruler of the future was quietly rising to power. Who knew anything about the future? Su Yang turned his gaze away. Why can't I become the new favorite of the era? Everything starts with my first million. Back at Dafa Gold's shop, Tang Dafa was in deep thought at his desk. The salesperson poured him a glass of water and casually commented, "Boss, you seem to care about that university student a lot." Tang Dafa was interrupted, but he was not vexed. Instead, he smiled and showed off his signature golden teeth and eyes that curled into slits. Not exactly. At first, I thought the young man is some kid from some wealthy family or some powerful officers of Shanghai since Jiang Yan recommended him to me. After all, we are living in Shanghai and the waters are so deep here that even a dragon might drown. That's why I sent you to test him. Unfortunately, you didn't find out the depth of his background, so I treated him as a potential client. But when he asked me about my fortune-telling business, he scared me a little. So, I called Jiang Yan to look him up and realized that he's just a normal university student. O.org, however, I liked how smart he is, so I tried to knock him up. I wanted to see whether I can keep him around and work for me, but as you can see, he didn't appreciate the offer. It's understandable. He's a young man after all and he hasn't experienced the harsh beating of society. After he graduates and hustles around for a few years, he'll realize that he just gave up on a golden opportunity. Aren't you disappointed? You did lose someone capable, the salesperson said softly. Haha. Why should I? This is Shanghai. You throw a brick out on the street and you might kill 800 capable young men and women. There are countless young and capable people hustling in this city every year, but how many of them can really stand on their feet in the end? Cut one off and 10 will replace him. Tang Dafa scoffed at what the salesperson said. The two of them were obviously more than merely employer and employee. The salesperson leaned her body against Tang Dafa and whispered, "Aren't you afraid that he might really be someone with a background?" Tang Dafa picked up his cup of tea for a sip. Commoners might believe that one might get so wealthy that the wealth can rival the counterparty or the powerful officers in the government, whose family tends to lay a low profile, but only people like us know that the capable ones will never stay low and those who keep a low profile will never be capable. Those who hide in the shadows will never grasp true power. The real nobles and powerful families will always stand in the public eye. You can look at them, be jealous of them, love them, or hate them, but whatever you do, they won't be afraid because they are the dragons among the people. A single word from them can call upon the rain or summon the wind. Many people will follow them and they will stir up a storm just like Jiang Yan's grandaunt. As for that student boy, I'm willing to bet 100 yuan that he will never earn 1 million in his life. Ha ha ha. Tang Dafa guffawed. Chapter 24. Tang Xiaomi visits. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Su Yang was on the bus with raging ambition burning in his heart. He was ready to figure out how to earn himself 1 million. However, as he further pondered the question, he slowly fell into despair. 1 million. That was 100 times 10,000. After hustling back and forth, he only had 30,000 at the moment, and that amount included his daily expenses and tuition fees for the next semester. Truth be told, he barely had any savings, so how should he earn this first 1 million? And in 6 months. In 6 months, he had to multiple his current net worth by 30 times. A quick calculation later, Su Yang almost broke down. For a university student, especially him, it was practically an impossible mission. Using his smartphone, he calculated and realized that in order to earn 1 million in 6 months, he would have to earn at least 17,000 per month, meaning that he would have to save 17 Tang Xiaomis a month. Are there that many lost children in Shanghai? With that in mind, Su Yang's eyes started to glance over at the children on the bus, and they looked somewhat like cash. Right before he transformed into a kidnapping demon, his phone rang. He checked it and saw a message from Tang Jing via WeChat. Su Yang, where are you? I'm waiting for you at the entrance of your neighborhood. Su Yang finally freed himself from his bitter emotions but was immediately confused by the message. Tang Jing is looking for me. What's up? Could Tang Xiaomi be lost again? With that in mind, he somehow felt excited for some reason. Ahem, that I shouldn't think like this. I might really become a strange person if I continue. Su Yang quickly pulled his thoughts back. He checked the stations before he replied. I'll be at the entrance in 5. Hold on. 5 minutes later, he arrived at the entrance of his neighborhood. He looked around but did not find that familiar Porsche. There was only a taxi parked at the side. Where is Tang Jing? Just as he peered around, a tiny figure popped up in front of him. Su Yang. Su Yang looked down right away. Tang Xiaomi. The little mischievous kid was in a pink dress and looked like a princess today. When she saw Su Yang, her smile widened and 2 dimples flashed on her cheeks. Where's your mom? Asked Su Yang as he tried to caress her head. Tang Xiaomi squatted down to avoid him and answered, she's at the office. Su Yang was immediately rendered speechless. Tang Xiaomi looked at him with a playful look. Are you trying to find out why would my mom send you a text in WeChat? After that, before Su Yang could reply, she took out a smartphone from her pocket. Tada! I took my mom's phone out. Su Yang's face was petrified. This kid is going out of control. He knocked her head gently. I'll tada your head. Give me the phone. After that, he snatched the phone from Tang Xiaomi and tried to contact Tang Jing. To his surprise, Tang Xiaomi started to scream, robbery. Someone took my phone. Su Yang was shocked. He immediately covered her mouth, but he did not realize his action made him even more suspicious. He was completely defeated by this mischievous child. No wonder she could cross half of Shanghai from Disneyland and return to the villa in Jian safely. With her mischievous mind and energetic spirit, she could have sold the kidnapper instead. With that in mind, Su Yang suddenly thought of a news article that he saw some time ago. He could not help but size Tang Xiaomi up. The little girl replied with a bright smile. There's no way she's that kid. That kid is much more obedient. After he gave the phone back to the mischievous kid, Su Yang admonished her, taking things without permission is stealing. You just stole your mom's phone. Tang Xiaomi clicked her tongue. I didn't steal her phone. My mom left her phone at home and I want to deliver it to her. Then, how did you end up at my place? Your mom isn't here, Su Yang said. Tang Xiaomi grinned awkwardly as if she was a real child and not an imp reincarnated. I forgot the name of my mom's office and the door at home is locked, so I can't get home. I was forced to come here. Su Yang was dumbstruck by her explanation. She's as ridiculous as her mother. Then, Tang Xiaomi tugged Su Yang's hand and said, "Oh, I called a taxi here, and I haven't paid the driver." A taxi. Just as Su Yang's face turned blank, the window of the taxi beside the road rolled down and the driver waved at Su Yang. "Kid, I've been waiting for you with the meter running." Again, Su Yang failed to comprehend the situation. He could not simply say that he did not know the kid. This little imp. The taxi meter is running and she's talking with me. Why can't she tell me to pay first before she talks to me? Su Yang paid the taxi for Tang Xiaomi with a sour look. To his surprise, the taxi fee cost more than 250 yuan. You are really a 250. Su Yang kept the receipt and planned to claim it back from her mother. He also asked the taxi driver for more receipts just so he could use it to earn some extra money during his next random mission to save the next damsel in distress. As the taxi drove off, Su Yang and Tang Xiaomi looked at each other. The tall man and the short girl spoke at the same time. Where are we going next? Why are you asking me? You should remember the name of your mom's office. I'll send you there. I'm quite busy, you know. Tang Xiaomi did not answer his question. Instead, she asked, "What are you so busy with?" I'm busy finding a way to earn 1 million in 6 months. Su Yang answered in an upset tone. Tang Xiaomi tapped her petite chest after she heard that and she said confidently, "It's simple. I know a way." Su Yang was shocked. You do? Are all the wealthy kids this smart? Nodding, Tang Xiaomi signed Su Yang to squat down and come closer. For 1 million, Su Yang did not care about his image, so he squatted down and moved his face closer to her. What's the deal? Do you know Alipay? I do. Alipay's released a new Yue Bao function with a high interest rate. You can get around 4% per year. Su Yang nodded. The function had been released quite a long time ago, but what did it have to do with 1 million? If you store 50 million inside, you'll get 1 million in interest within half a year. Su Yang thought he heard it wrongly. He looked straight into Tang Xiaomi's eyes and the little girl blinked seriously at him. This little. Su Yang sighed heavily and stood up. He did not want to talk with the imp anymore. When Tang Xiaomi saw that he was upset by her joke, she quickly hugged his leg and begged, "Come on, don't get mad, please. Okay, I'll stop making fun of you. Worst case scenario, I'll steal my mom's car and sell it. It's worth 1 million, I think." Su Yang knocked her head again. Don't steal stuff. Tang Xiaomi pouted with her tongue stuck out. He could not get mad at her cute little face, so he said, "If your mom can't get to you, she will be worried." Tang Xiaomi shook her head. She won't. If she can't find me, she will find you instead. Su Yang squinted his eyes. She's right. Tang Xiaomi realized that Su Yang somehow listened to her, so she quickly tugged his pants and begged with her big googly eyes, "You can just take me to your house and wait for my mom there." Su Yang hesitated. He did not know whether he should bring the imp back home since he had many secrets back in his basement. At that very moment, a beep sounded in his head. New random mission. Entertain Tang Xiaomi at home and prepare dinner for her. Since the system was even giving him a mission about her, Su Yang no longer hesitated. He just had to be careful. He smiled. Fine, but let me make this clear. Don't mess up my house. Roger. Tang Xiaomi saluted and smiled, showing her cute little dimples. Chapter 25. Gru, the coaxer. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Ever since Su Yang saved Chu Xiaomeng and hoped for the mission in the system to change, he had to admit that the system really had changed a lot. The biggest mission he got was to earn 1 million, and the smallest would probably be babysitting. He now received all kinds of missions. However, Su Yang started to miss those days of saving a damsel in distress. Back then, a lady who needed saving would appear every week and they would happily repay him by covering his taxi fee. Now, all Su Yang could do was sigh. He had been too naive back then. Holding Tang Xiaomi's hand, the two of them walked into his neighborhood, and when they saw the guard greeted them. "Yo, is this your niece?" Su Yang nodded and beamed. Tang Xiaomi also smiled when she saw the guard. She then looked up at Su Yang and said in a cute voice, "Daddy, this uncle is so handsome." Su Yang was petrified on the spot. The guard was delighted by her praise. "Is the smart little girl your daughter?" Su Yang did not know how to reply. This imp is definitely doing this on purpose. He did not bother to explain either. The guard would be able to figure it out after some thoughts. How could a 19-year-old university student have a daughter of 4 to 5 years old? Coincidentally, after they saw the guard, the two of them ran into old Sixth Lu and his gangster friends. Ever since Su Yang beat old Sixth Lu up, he got a lot quieter, and the residents in the area expressed that the safety of the neighborhood had improved. Old Sixth Lu was frightened when he saw Su Yang, so he quickly looked away. He obviously had grievances in his heart, but he dared not touch Su Yang anymore. His gangster friends were a lot more obedient. They lowered their heads and greeted, "Brother Yang." In reply, Su Yang grunted with his nasal voice. Tang Xiaomi's big, round eyes were sizing the four of them up throughout the encounter. Her curiosity was piqued. After they reached Su Yang's basement, her curiosity got the best of her. She hugged Su Yang's leg and asked, "Su Yang, are you a boss of some gang?" Su Yang knocked her head. "Call me Big Brother. Su Yang. Su Yang. Su Yang. Su Yang." Tang Xiaomi insisted on calling Su Yang by his name. He really wanted to strangle the little imp. "Yes, I'm some boss of a street gang. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Wow. Where's your tattoo? Let me see. Let me see." Tang Xiaomi's eyes were shining as she quickly climbed up his body, but before she could ravage him, he picked her up and put her down. "I don't have one." Tang Xiaomi looked at Su Yang. "Then, can you get a Hello Kitty tattoo?" Su Yang did not know how to reply. "I'll tattoo you little *SS instead." Even if he was a gang leader, he would be a joke if he really got a Hello Kitty tattoo. He pointed at Tang Xiaomi and said, "I'm not some gang boss or whatever. The government is trying to eradicate crimes, so there hasn't been a gang or a crime syndicate for a long time." Tang Xiaomi obediently put her hands over her mouth and said in a muffled voice after she looked around sleazily, "Don't worry. I won't tell on you. Why don't I tell your mom instead?" Su Yang thought the random mission was a giveaway, but he did not expect the kid to be this vexing. Judging from how annoying Tang Xiaomi was, Su Yang believed that the little girl would take up his entire night. "I knew it. The system's mission can never be easy." With that in mind, Su Yang started to search around for something to distract the little girl. Soon, he locked his gaze on the withered twig on his desk. "It's either you or me, Gru, and I choose to sacrifice you." He unrooted Gru from the pot and gave it to Tang Xiaomi. "Here's something fun." Tang Xiaomi looked at the black withered twig in Su Yang's hand. Her petite little face was filled with rejection. "What's this?" Su Yang tapped on Gru and said, "Gru, stop playing dead." Since it could not escape its cruel fate, Gru extended one of its sprouts and curled around Tang Xiaomi's hand. The sprout slightly shook as if it was trying to shake her hand. Tang Xiaomi grabbed its sprout. Her eyes widened curiously as if she had just witnessed a miraculous scene. Gru extended the other sprout to her face and grew several new leaves and a pink flower bud. The flower bud slowly grew bigger and bloomed in front of Tang Xiaomi. She opened her mouth wide in surprise before she squealed in delight, "Wow!" Gru even greeted her with its grunts. Tang Xiaomi no longer rejected the withered twig. She held Gru in her hands dearly and went to play in a corner. Su Yang was also surprised. He never expected Gru to be such a good coaxer. He never realized that Gru had such talent before. He finally sighed a breath of relief after settling the little imp. As for exposing his secret, Su Yang was not worried at all. A 4-year-old child was good at fantasizing and dreaming, so who would believe her fairy tale? Besides, without Su Yang's order, Gru would appear no different than a dead twig in people's eyes. As for the other strange stuff like the tall book, he could just label them as plastic models or whatnot. In the end, it was still the same old saying. Adults rarely believed the fairy tales of a 4-year-old. It might actually be a pitiful thing for the kid. After he distracted Tang Xiaomi, Su Yang returned to his desk and tried to figure out a way to earn money. As a smart person who could score well in tests without even studying hard, Su Yang had his own standards in dealing with matters. He planned to split the goal of 1,000,000 yuan into several parts. 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, and the ultimate goal of 1,000,000. Trying to earn 1,000,000 with only 10,000 yuan was ridiculously difficult. Using 10,000 yuan to earn 100,000 yuan was also just as difficult. However, while it might be difficult, it was not entirely impossible. Chances were bountiful in Shanghai. 100,000 yuan was not a ridiculously high amount and he might be able to get it with a single golden opportunity. From there, using his 100,000 yuan as a starting fund, he could earn more money, be it through interest or whatever. It might be a way out. With that in mind, his phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was an unregistered number. Could it be Tang Jing? Su Yang picked the phone up, and on the other end was an enthusiastic voice of a young man who greeted, "Good day, sir. We have an offer regarding a townhouse that is worth 8 million. Are you interested in knowing more?" "It's not Tang Jing." Su Yang simply replied, "I'm interested but I don't have that kind of money. I can't afford it." The voice on the other end paused for a moment. Without changing his enthusiastic tone, he said, "That's entirely okay. What about a job to line up for the show house? It's 100 yuan per day. Are you interested in that?" The offer caught Su Yang's interest. He thought for a while and asked, "How many people do you need? If I have the numbers, do you pay a commission?" The young man did not expect Su Yang to give such an answer, so he was caught off guard. "Please hold on, sir. I'll have to refer to my supervisor." "Sure." 5 minutes later, the young man came back online and said with his never-dying enthusiasm, "Sir, my supervisor said if you have 10 people, we can pay you 10%. If you can get 20 to 50 people, we will pay you 20%. If you have more than 100 people, we have just the large-scale event for you on our hands. It's about being fans for an online artist. We can pay you 150 yuan per head, but you will have to organize the group and the event mustn't go wrong." Intrigued, Su Yang asked, "Which online artist am I rooting for?" Han Yi. Chapter 26. Job settled. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. The name sounded familiar. Su Yang quickly searched his memories and realized that the name was actually an online personality that he once saw on Tieba. The one looked like a Westerner. Who would have thought that an online newcomer would have to buy fans to support her? Lesson learned. After he got more details from the young man on the other side, Su Yang agreed to take the two jobs. He had resources at hand. During his last semester, he had been working part-time for his senior, doing tasks such as sending out flyers or wearing a bear costume for promotion purposes, and so on. After a whole day of hard work, he was only paid 60 to 70 yuan. In the end, Su Yang realized that his senior was actually taking commissions from his job at quite a high percentage, around 30%. Therefore, he quit and tried to work for himself instead. After he went solo, his income was relatively higher since there was no middleman earning commissions from his jobs. Sometimes, when more manpower was needed, he would introduce the job to several of his closer classmates. As he continued to find part-time jobs, some other hard-working students in the same course heard of his connections, so they started to look for Su Yang for part-time gigs. He was not a greedy person and would bring several classmates together on the job. As for the middleman commission, he would only take around 5 to 10 yuan as token fees. The other students could only get 60 to 70 yuan from their seniors, but they were able to get around 80 to 90 yuan from Su Yang. His classmates appreciated his good intentions as well, and as the jobs went on, Su Yang could easily get a dozen of them with a single call. However, since Su Yang was not a local, he had limited opportunities of getting a large-scale job. Therefore, he could only pull his classmates together on a job occasionally. He was not a direct competition to his seniors, so nothing bad happened to them. This time, it might be an opportunity to utilize his resources. Even if he paid every student 100 yuan, including the labor fees and travel expenses, he could probably earn 4,000 to 5,000 yuan after the two jobs. The payment for the job with the online artist was particularly quite decent. Although 4,000 to 5,000 yuan was only a drop of water compared to the vast ocean of 1 million yuan, if he did not start somewhere, he would not move closer towards his goal. Earning every cent possible would eventually lead him to where he wanted to be, so he had to be hopeful. With that in mind, Su Yang mentioned everyone in his part-time chat group. At everyone. I have a job on Saturday. I need 20 packs. Travel fees and lunch not included. 100 yuan for half a day. PM me if interested. Right after Su Yang sent the message out, the chat group got lively. Wow! Admin is amazing. It's a good-paying job. I know, right? Is this for real, admin? The wage is a surprise. After a ton of replies flooded the chat group, someone asked. Su Yang, do you get any commission from this? Su Yang checked the message. It was from a classmate who he had worked with since the early days. Right after that classmate's question, everyone kept quiet. It seemed like everyone thought that Su Yang was not getting commission from this job and always shared his profit with everyone else. Su Yang chuckled and replied. I am, so relax. With the confirmation, everyone started to get responsive, and soon, more than 30 students signed up for the job. Su Yang took everyone's details down because he had to filter the candidates later. Besides that, he had to meet the representative of the intermediary company tomorrow after his morning class. A contract must be signed beforehand and he must ask for a deposit first. After all, it was his first large-scale event, so he had to be careful. When he was done with all the necessary work, Tang Xiaomi came to his side with Gru. She spread her hands wide and demanded, Su Yang, carry me. Su Yang carried the little girl in his arms. He saw her little pouting mouth and asked, what's wrong? Are you hungry? Tang Xiaomi nodded meekly and Gru even pretended to be hungry by rubbing its stem with its sprouts. Su Yang checked his watch. It was already 6 p.m. A child had a better digestive system, so it was quite normal for her to be hungry. However, Tang Jing was really not a responsible mother. The sun was setting soon and she had yet to notice her daughter had disappeared again. It was no wonder that she left her daughter in Disneyland in the first place and that Tang Xiaomi was so independent. If Su Yang was the kid's parent, he would not be this cold. Therefore, he ordered takeaway for Tang Xiaomi. Yellow stewed chicken rice. It was the best takeaway that he knew of, and even he himself did not always have it. After all, he was still on the path of earning 1,000,000 yuan. In order to save some money, he ordered a set of chicken with 2 packs of rice. Soon enough, the delivery guy reached his door. Su Yang then poured out a bowl of chicken for Tang Xiaomi and helped her to mix the rice in. A while later, a bowl of tasty and aromatic yellow stewed chicken rice was ready, although it did not exactly seem appetizing. Su Yang then poured the leftover soup into his own bowl of rice and started eating. Tang Xiaomi frowned at the bowl of strange-looking rice at first, but when she saw Su Yang was having a good time with it, she gulped it gluttonously. She tried a mouthful of the rice. When she put it into her mouth, her eyes shone. Delicious. She started to gobble down the bowl of rice. The kid might have skipped her lunch altogether since she enjoyed the bowl of yellow stewed chicken so much. Su Yang could not help but chuckle at Tang Xiaomi and the way she ate. He somehow felt like having a little sister was not a bad experience. Tang Xiaomi noticed him watching her. She lifted her head up from the bowl. Her cheeks were covered in rice and soup since she devoured it like she was a hungry kitten. Su Yang found it amusing. Su Yang wiped her mouth with a tissue and caressed her head. "Finish your rice." Tang Xiaomi nodded. Right as she wanted to bury her face into the bowl, she saw Su Yang's bowl. Su Yang's bowl did not have a single piece of chicken, while there was a thick layer of chicken on top of her bowl of rice. Her nose twitched unintentionally as sourness and heartache mixed with warmth filled her heart. Tang Xiaomi lowered her head and quietly wiped her eyes. She then picked up a piece of chicken and wanted to put it into Su Yang's bowl. However, he moved his bowl away and looked at her. "What are you doing?" Her hand holding the chopsticks froze in the air while she looked at Su Yang and said heavily, "You have some too." "I can't finish it." Su Yang looked at her with disgust. "You have to finish it even if you can't. Kids can't be picky." Tang Xiaomi looked even more troubled. "I want you to have some too." Su Yang looked even more repugnant. "I don't want to eat your leftovers." Tang Xiaomi pouted and sulked. "You bully." However, as a precocious child, Tang Xiaomi knew that Su Yang was finding excuses to make her eat the chicken. She did not argue anymore and quietly finished her bowl of yellow stewed chicken. Su Yang also finished his bowl of rice mixed with only the broth from the yellow stewed chicken. After the meal, he even mischievously said, "I'll take note of what you ate today and claim it back from your mom." Tang Xiaomi looked at Su Yang with her big, round eyes. It was quite rare for her to stay quiet, and after 2 seconds of silence, Tang Xiaomi called him, "Su Yang." Su Yang looked at her with a confused look. "I'll buy you a big meal one day." "How big?" Su Yang smiled. Tang Xiaomi extended her petite arms and signaled. "This big. Or bigger than this." She tried her best to search for appropriate words to describe the meal, 3 Michelin stars, 4 stars.no, 100 stars. Su Yang chuckled and caressed her head. "Of course, but you have to use the money you earn by yourself. You can't ask for money from your mom." Tang Xiaomi nodded strongly. It was then that Su Yang's phone finally rang, and this time, it was Tang Jing. Chapter 27. Starting the points adding again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. The caller ID showed an unregistered number. Tang Jing had probably borrowed her friend's phone to make the call. When Su Yang answered the phone, what he heard was Tang Jing's nervous tone. Master Su, Xiaomi is lost again." "Yup. She's at my place," said Su Yang. "Please help me she's at your place." Tang Jing reacted to the situation halfway through her anxious plea. Her pitch was probably 8 dB higher than usual and was filled with disbelief. Understanding her shock, he explained, Xiaomi wanted to deliver your phone to you, but she forgot your office name and locked herself out, so she took a taxi to my place. Tang Jing failed to respond to the mysterious turn of events immediately. Only after a while, she came back to her senses and thanked Su Yang sincerely. Oh, I see now. Thank you so much, Master Su. I've troubled you again. Su Yang shook his head. It's okay. I'm having a good time here with Xiaomi too. I'm really sorry to trouble you again. I'll make my way there right now, said Tang Jing. She then hung up after sounding like she was really worried. Su Yang shook his head as he looked at his phone. Human beings are really strange creatures. When they get busy, they can simply forget their child, and when they can't find the child, they get all worried and concerned. But why didn't she call her own phone? With that in mind, Su Yang took Tang Jing's phone from Xiaomi and realized Xiaomi might have accidentally silenced the phone. The phone had actually received 8 missed calls. No wonder she's that worried. Since Tang Jing was on her way, Su Yang got up and intended to take Tang Xiaomi to the entrance of his neighborhood. Allowing a child to see some weird stuff was not a problem, but if an adult saw his room of unusual things, that would be a big problem. With Gru in her hand, Tang Xiaomi looked at Su Yang with sympathy. Su Yang, can I come another day to play with Twiggy? Twiggy was her new name for Gru. Say goodbye to your Twiggy, teased Su Yang. Tang Xiaomi's big, round eyes were instantly covered with a layer of glistening tears. She was about to break down in tears. Su Yang quickly caressed her head and stopped his sick habit of teasing the little girl. Yeah, you can come if you want to. Maybe I'll get more random missions from her. Only then did Tang Xiaomi smile through her tears. Su Yang quickly tidied up his basement before he took Tang Xiaomi out. The two of them held hands as they walked towards the entrance of the neighborhood. Tang Xiaomi looked up at him and said, Su Yang, do you need a lot of money? Of course, who doesn't? Su Yang nodded. Why don't I steal my mom's car? Tang Xiaomi asked with a serious expression. Su Yang was amused by how naive the little imp was. Even if you wanted to, can you even drive the car with your little hands and legs? He rubbed Tang Xiaomi's head vigorously. Shut up. Oh. Tang Xiaomi obediently kept her mouth sealed. The two of them waited at the entrance for a while before Tang Jing's Porsche came by and stopped in front of the two of them. Tang Jing nervously got down and hugged Tang Xiaomi firmly. Xiaomi, please don't go wandering off yourself next time, okay? Tang Xiaomi nodded at her mother but winked at Su Yang as if she was really a little imp with mischievous ideas. Su Yang had a feeling that the little imp must be planning her next prison break. After she lectured the little imp, Tang Jing stood up and thanked Su Yang once more. I'm truly sorry to bother you again, Master Su. Thank you for taking care of Xiaomi. Tang Jing was still dressed in her formal wear today. In her black stockings, a short skirt, a white shirt with floral lace at the edges, and a fitting coat, it made her typical office lady look a little more fashionable. She even looked a lot gentler. The high-quality clothes that she wore granted her the charm of an intellectual lady. Her current appearance was much more fitting to her temperament compared to her previous one. Her character was gentle and somewhat meek after all. She seemed to possess the tenderness of a southern woman. Su Yang returned the phone back to her and offered a kind reminder. He did not hold the mother and daughter up for too long since it was starting to get late. After he saw the tail light of the Porsche disappear at the corner of the road, Su Yang headed back into his neighborhood. Just prior to reaching his basement, he received a notification on his phone. It was a 300 yuan transfer from Tang Jing. Tang Xiaomi must have told her mother about the expenses that he spent on her today and the money must be the reimbursement. Su Yang did help her take care of her daughter after all, and she should reimburse him with the money that her daughter spent. Su Yang did not try to be courteous as he accepted the money succinctly. As the Porsche sprinted across the highway, Tang Jing caught a glimpse of Tang Xiaomi in the passenger seat. Xiaomi, what are you doing with my phone again? Su Yang paid my taxi fee and dinner, so I'm giving him the money back, said Tang Xiaomi righteously. Tang Jing nodded. Okay, it's the right thing to do. A little pause later, she added gently, you shouldn't call someone older than you by their name. You must call him uncle. Oh. Tang Xiaomi answered with pouted lips and did not continue the conversation. Since Tang Jing was driving and Tang Xiaomi did not want to talk, the interior of the Porsche returned to silence and darkness. 2 minutes later, Tang Xiaomi suddenly said, Mommy, Su Yang needs money. Tang Jing glanced into the rear mirror for oncoming cars before she replied, how much? $1 million. The revelation did not shock Tang Jing at all while her eyes remained straight ahead. Did he tell you to say that? Tang Xiaomi shook her head. No, I found out by myself. He has to earn $1 million in 6 months. Tang Jing did not continue the conversation. Tang Xiaomi looked at her mother expectantly. Is there any way to help him? Right after Su Yang stepped into his basement, a beep sounded in his head. Random mission completed. It was probably the easiest random mission ever. He did not need to fight anyone. All he did was sit at home and entertain the little girl with Gru, and he even got takeaway as dinner. What a pleasant day. Speaking of Gru. Gru was not just a useless withered twig. After Su Yang came back, it extended its sprout and signed 1 in front of Su Yang's face. Su Yang understood what Gru wanted. Okay, I'll give you a packet of milk. Gru had done a great job after all. Su Yang played some music for it with his phone and poured a pack of milk into its pot. While Gru wriggled happily, Su Yang's eyes were searching around his house. Adding points was like a drug to him. He would feel terrible if he did not do it. He had just gotten a random point and was eager to use it. Which one of you cuties is going to be your master's next subject? Su Yang uttered gibberish with a perverted look. His eyes then landed on a bolster on his bed. It was a long rectangle bolster with a husky's head printed on it. It was a present that he had gotten from his supervisor from a job at the mall last semester. His basement did not have a sofa, so he simply put the bolster on his bed. He used to hug it in his sleep or use it as support for his arms. The husky printed on the bolster was looking at him with its large, googly eyes as if it was displeased with Su Yang's choice. I choose you. Su Yang headed to the bathroom to wash his hands. He used the piece of soap and rubbed his hands carefully. While washing his hands, he suddenly remembered that he did not wash his hands during his last ability. Drawing because he had been so focused on smashing his face with the brick. Maybe that's the reason why I didn't get any abilities related to English. With that in mind, Su Yang prayed in his heart. Please let me add the point to another evolution in life. After his prayers, Su Yang walked out of the bathroom. He hugged the husky bolster in his arms and opened the point system. Chapter 28. Adding points turned it into a second little monster. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Right after he opened the point system, a translucent, plus, sign appeared at the upper corner of the husky bolster. Su Yang lightly tapped on it. The bolster gleamed and the point was added. Simple and efficient as always. The husky bolster in his arms did not change, not in size, color or looks. Did I get another special item? He patiently waited for the item description to pop up. A moment later, a sharp voice entered his left ear. Su Yang. Su Yang was shocked. He looked around but there was no one but him. The voice called him again, Su Yang, what are you looking at? Su Yang looked at the husky bolster in his arms and realized that it was the husky on the bolster talking to him. It widened its doggy eyes, staring into Su Yang's eyes with its grumpy babyish face. It's me. Su Yang was stunned on the spot. Meanwhile, at the top of the bolster, a new window popped up. Bolster +1. Its life has evolved to the next stage. Acquired. Simple intellect, speech, simple ability. Remark. Relax, a bolster won't tear down your house, or will it? With such a bolster in his arm, Su Yang believed it was no longer appropriate to call it a soulless bolster, but why did the bolster talk like a husky? Did the husky picture on the bolster receive life and evolve to the next stage, or was it the bolster itself? While Su Yang was pondering about it, the bolster did not stay idle either. Its doggy eyes sized up Su Yang's basement as if it was looking for somewhere to start tearing down the place. In the end, it said to his astonishment, "Su Yang, I'm hungry." The bolster used its eyes to signal toward the box of instant noodles and sausages under the table. "I want some sausages." Su Yang rubbed the bolster from top to bottom and said, "But you don't even have a mouth." "I want to eat," the bolster responded with a husky death stare. "You're a bolster. You can't eat." "I'm a dog, I can and want to eat." With the husky bolster in his arms, Su Yang's ears no longer knew peace. Sighed that I think I just added the point to another useless thing. This doggy bolster might be useless, but the soap worked. My prayers came true. I prayed for life to evolve again and it did. Su Yang gazed at the piece of soap in his bathroom. I want to complete the 1 million yuan mission. 1 second, 2 seconds. Nothing happened. Sigh, am I overthinking? Or am I asking too much from a piece of soap? He ultimately spared the soap from his ridiculous thoughts. He washed up and prepared to sleep since he had another meeting for the job tomorrow. However, his dog, or his bolster, did not want to spare him. Su Yang, I want chocolate. Su Yang was lying on his bed with his eyes closed. He simply answered, a dog will die eating chocolate. The husky bolster widened its doggy eyes. But I want chocolate. Su Yang did not even open his eyes. I don't have any here. Get up and buy me some, said the husky bolster. Su Yang had almost fallen asleep. It's already night. The shops are closed. Then, buy me some tomorrow. You're a bolster. You can't eat, Su Yang mumbled. The husky on the bolster revealed a frightened face. Am I not a dog? Didn't you just call me a dog? Go away. Su Yang could no longer tolerate the nagging. He punched the bolster and grabbed it to the bathroom, locked it inside, and returned to bed. His world quickly returned to peace. This little B** starred is really talkative. Look at Gru. He's cute because he never talks. Gru was sound asleep. The soft murmurs from the twig sounded like a fish bubbling while it was asleep. Su Yang glanced at the sleeping twig. The withered twig that he once assumed was useless was a lot cuter than the talkative husky bolster. Comparison really kills. But why are all these little monsters so useless? Even the special items are much more useful. The twig and the bolster only know how to ask for food. With that in mind, Su Yang switched his gaze from the withered twig to the dog in the bathroom. Whatever, it's time to sleep. I'm not adding points to any little monster anymore. On the morning of the second day, Su Yang was woken up by the husky bolster which he named Little Hus. Little Hus seemed to have gone mad as it kept knocking on the door of the bathroom and called loudly, Su Yang. It's time for a walk. Wake up. Su Yang, the sun's shining on your backside. Wake up. Su Yang. Su Yang was so irritated that he covered his head with the blanket. He did not want to answer the talkative bolster. However, Little Hus was resilient with its calling. Its sharp voice easily penetrated the door and the blanket to attack Su Yang's ears. As a bolster with a picture of a husky, Little Hus really behaved like a real husky that was extremely energetic. After Su Yang played ostrich for 2 minutes, he gave up. He could not go back to sleep since the noise was tormenting. He got out of bed and kicked the bathroom door open to shout at Little Hus, "What are you trying to do? Are you insane?" The husky on the bolster gave him a sinister smile. Even though he knew that the husky's face was infuriating to look at, Su Yang assumed that Little Hus was mocking him. He grabbed Little Hus and put it into a pail of water, attempting to cool it down. Little Hus continued screaming when it was immersed in water, "Su Yang! Su Yang! I can't swim." Su Yang did not even turn around. "All dogs can swim." Little Hus showed a poker face. "Really?" Su Yang had no idea whether it was true or not. All he knew was that soaking Little Hus in water stopped it from talking. Maybe it really was just learning to swim. A bolster with a husky picture thinks he's a dog. Sigh, the things in my house are getting weirder. Will I have to walk the bolster every day? People walk their dogs while I walk my bolster. The thought alone makes me feel like I'm insane, sigh. Since he was already up, Su Yang did not try to go back to bed. He washed up, had some breakfast, and headed to class. It was Monday, thus he had more classes than any other day. He had 2 lectures in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. The 2 lectures were back which made it 100 minutes long. After spending the whole morning on campus, he returned home after the class in the afternoon to tidy up before he headed out to meet the intermediary company for more details on the job. He made an appointment to meet with the intermediary face-to-face yesterday. An event that involved more than 100 people was a significant job. If anything went south, Su Yang would have to compensate the company with all his money, so he tried to be as careful as possible. The company was located at a technology park not far from his campus. Starting out from his basement, it took Su Yang only 10 minutes to reach the place. As for why an intermediary company was inside a technology park, who knew? Su Yang did not dare ask. When he reached the technology park, Su Yang took his phone out and checked the map. Then, he made his way to the company. At the entrance of the office was its name. Junqing Intermediary. Beside the sign was the company's registration information. Su Yang noted down the company name and did a background check online. The reviews and records seemed good enough. The company did not have any legal problems or industrial penalty records. The recruitment situation seemed normal throughout a 6-month span, and the salary of the employees ranged from 3,000 to 50,000 yuan. Su Yang's initial judgment was that this company was a white company and had a certain level of reputation. Of course, he would have to meet the people within to find out more about the details. Chapter 29. The hope of completing the silver mission. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. With the initial judgment, Su Yang felt a lot better. He registered at the reception. The receptionist was a lady with a bit of baby fat, though she was quite pretty and passionate in greeting people. Even after she heard that Su Yang was there to discuss a collaboration, she did not look down on him because of his young age. She took his details carefully and made a call to the office to inform the intermediary that Su Yang contacted. The intermediary was a young man in his mid-20s, around 175 centimeters tall and slightly worn out. His shirt was a little wrinkled but clean. His hairstyle was not fashionable but was washed, and it did not look oily at all. In short, he looked like the most typical white-collar male or salaryman in Shanghai. He passionately greeted Su Yang when he came out and even shook his hand. He signed the record book at the reception and then brought Su Yang into the office. The intermediary company was not small by any means. On the office floor, there were almost 50 workstations within Su Yang's site, and there were also some independent offices and meeting rooms, so there were around 60 employees in the company. The young man brought Su Yang to a small meeting room. He then introduced himself. "Nice to meet you. I'm Wang Dong, an intermediary of Junqing Intermediary. You seem young enough, so you can just call me Brother Dong. Su Yang obliged to his kindness. Brother Dong, I'm Su Yang, a student at Shanghai University. A tinge of surprise appeared in Wang Dong's gaze at Su Yang. That prestigious university. Not bad. I didn't expect that a random call would allow me to meet a student from a prestigious university. Maybe it's fate, Su Yang joked. Both of them clicked together quickly. Su Yang and Wang Dong chatted for almost 10 minutes and they got a better understanding of each other's situation. Wang Dong more or less fit Su Yang's expectations. He was from Shannan province but came to Shanghai to study interior design. He graduated from university 6 years ago and continued to stay in this city to make a living, though not as what he studied, which was an interior designer. Instead, he worked as an intermediary. The boss of this intermediary company was someone with an impressive background and the benefits were quite attractive. Wang Dong had been working for over a year and was able to get all kinds of jobs. Examples of such jobs included buying fake fans for some artist or filling up a certain event with fake tourists, or even attracting potential clients for property companies and finding people to play as potential clients for a property show. According to Wang Dong, what he got were considered the simplest cases. His higher-ups were engaged in head-hunting and pulling strings for other companies to meet their potential collaborators. However, all those cases were beyond his pay grade. After Wang Dong's introduction, Su Yang got a better understanding of the company background. It seems like a well-connected company. The two of them moved on to the job after they chatted and got a better understanding of each other. Wang Dong expressed his concerns about Su Yang's classmates pretending to be potential clients for a property company. He rubbed the stubble at his chin and asked, "If all of you are students, visiting a show house together would seem fake, since those who are capable of buying houses are mostly in their late 20s or early 30s. It's manageable if there were only one or two, but a group of students of 18 to 19 years old would give us away in an instant. It'd be obvious that someone paid them to be there. Brother Dong, the students in my course aren't printed from the same mold. Some look old whereas some look young, am I right? I'll assign each of them a character to play. The younger-looking ones can go solo and don't need to fake it. They can just be curious students who want to understand the local properties more," Su Yang explained. The older-looking ones will be grouped in pairs of different genders, of course. They can be fresh graduate couples in their 20s who want to do a survey before persuading their parents to buy a unit or a property. Since it's our first collaboration, I won't call too many of them, 20 of them, tops. With a little work, they will be equally scattered with different identities, so they won't catch any attention and their identities will work out. Su Yang also added, "I'll try my best to pick those who appear old. You don't have to worry about that. I want to make this collaboration the first of many, thus I assure you I won't screw it up." Wang Dong was obviously moved by Su Yang's explanation. He pondered it for a while before he nodded. "Okay, let's go with it." Junqing Intermediary was a legitimate company, so it had a certain set of standard operating procedures to follow before executing a job. After the two of them reached an accord, Wang Dong brought the proposal to his supervisors. The job got the green light and 2 sets of contracts were brought over to Su Yang. Su Yang used his limited legal knowledge to skim through the contract. He did not find any problem with it except for the terms that required him to keep this job confidential. Other than that, it was fine. The terms about the payment were also clearly stated. The first deposit was 20% and 60% would be paid after the job, while the remaining 20% would be cleared at the end of the month. Su Yang did not know how good or how bad the terms were, and since he was the second party, he did not have the right to change the terms. All he could do was agree and sign the contract. Su Yang also left his bank account and bank name on the contract. Wang Dong brought the signed contract to his supervisor and the finance director for their additional signatures. The signed contract was then handed over to the finance department. The finance department of the company was quite efficient. In less than half an hour, Su Yang received a notification from his phone and received the 480 yuan deposit. Su Yang ran a quick calculation in his mind. 20 people, 100 each. I get 20% in intermediary fees, which is 0.400. Great. The amount was relatively small compared to 1 million, but the goal could only be reached through accumulation. Besides, it was his first collaboration with the company. Su Yang remembered that he still had to find fake fans for Han Yi. That job alone could earn him 5,000 yuan. If these two jobs worked out well, he could get close to Junqing Intermediary and secure himself a stable source of income. At the very least, if he could work with the company 7 to 8 times per month, he would be able to earn 10,000 to 20,000 yuan. In 6 months, he would be able to complete a tenth of the silver mission. Was that not great? It was already 5.30 after everything was settled. Wang Dong generously asked Su Yang for dinner. Since Su Yang also wanted to be closer to Wang Dong, he agreed to the invitation. After work, the two of them found a little restaurant nearby and settled in. It was not far from Su Yang's campus, but he had never been there before. As the host, Wang Dong ordered several dishes and some beer, and the two of them soon dug in. Wang Dong popped a bottle of beer for Su Yang and passed it to him. "Wanna have some?" Su Yang shook his head. "I can't drink." As Wang Dong laughed, he did not pressure Su Yang. He put the bottle of beer at his side and said sentimentally, "When I first saw you today, I felt a sense of familiarity. It was as though I was looking at my younger self from 8 years ago." When Su Yang looked at Wang Dong, he saw the man was reminiscing his memories. There was also a tinge of helplessness mixed with a little disappointment in his expression. The man bitterly shook his head and drained the glass of beer dry. Su Yang tried to hold him back. "Brother Dong, take it slow." Wang Dong smiled at him. "It's fine. I trained myself for this." After another glass, Wang Dong asked, "Su Yang, you aren't local, are you?" Su Yang nodded. "Where from?" "Shannon." "Zhejiang." "Qingjiang." "Zhejiang." "You're from a farming village, aren't you?" Su Yang nodded. Wang Dong smiled as he shook his head and another glass of beer was drained dry. He sighed heavily after he put the glass down. "We are so alike." Su Yang did not answer. As a matter of fact, he also felt a sense of familiarity when he saw Wang Dong. It felt as if he was looking at his future self, or what his future self could be. They shared similar family backgrounds, similar experiences, and similar passions about life. It was just that Wang Dong started 8 years earlier. Without the system, will I become like Brother Dong in the future? Chapter 30. Sing a Song. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Although Su Yang did not know why Wang Dong opened his heart to him at the first meeting, Su Yang could feel the bitterness in his heart. The passion Wang Dong showed when he was working and the exhaustion that he showed now formed an obvious contrast. Su Yang barely ate anything and Wang Dong did not even have a bite, but the man drank all 4 bottles of beer. His alcohol tolerance was not as good as he claimed. After guzzling 4 bottles of beer, his eyes were a little out of focus. Bitterness was smeared all over his face. He reached out to Su Yang and signed with his hand. "I've graduated for 6 years, 6 years. My brother and I've also been hustling for 6 years. Su Yang looked at the man, unable to reply. Thankfully, Wang Dong wanted to only vent his emotions instead of getting Su Yang's reply. The man added, "I came here to study interior design and I really liked it. I really wanted to be an interior designer, but I can't make any money from this. I've worked as an interior designer for 5 years before this, but I failed to earn myself a house or a car. A so-called interior designer has to live in a tiny apartment that's only a dozen square meters large. I worked from 9 to 5 but I couldn't even save a dozen yuan in a month. Every festive season, I can't even afford presents to send back to my hometown. I have to rely on cheap instant noodles to make it through the end of the month. Where would I get the money to buy presents for my family? After hustling for 5 years, in the end, I choose to compromise with life. Wang Dong drank glass after glass and his eyes got red. If you ask whether I'm earning money from this current job. Yes. But it's far from enough. As he started to get drunk, his head started to sway left and right while the words slurred out from his mouth, do you know how much it costs to own a house in Shanghai? Wang Dong put 3 fingers up in front of Su Yang. At least 3 million. I worked hard. I tried everything, but I can't earn enough or that much. Look on the bright side. You are doing okay yourself for now. Maybe you can work things out if you continue to work hard, Su Yang sighed and consoled the man. Wang Dong chuckled in disdain. Continue to work hard. Do I have to continue to pretend that a mantou is a slice of chocolate cake? I'm getting older. My classmates, my peers have properties worth over tens of millions while I'm still hustling for a 10,000 salary a month that I'm really a useless piece of trash. Su Yang sighed again though he did not try to console Wang Dong anymore. The man must have run into something lately, so maybe he just wanted to vent his emotions. As a third party, especially a third party that wished to further the collaboration, all Su Yang could do was accompany the drunkard while he vented his emotions. It was Su Yang's first time experiencing the bitterness of being on the passive side. Soon enough, Wang Dong collapsed on the table. Su Yang tried to wake the man but realized he had passed out. What should I do with this fella? When Su Yang realized that the man might have missed the bill for the meal, he started to have a headache. He checked his watch and it was already 9:15 at night, thus he decided to settle the bill at the counter first before figuring out a way to settle Wang Dong. To his surprise, when he checked with the counter, the cashier said that Wang Dong had paid in advance and he actually had a way to contact Wang Dong's girlfriend. It gave Su Yang a better impression of the drunkard. The restaurant made a call to Wang Dong's girlfriend who was not friendly when she picked up the phone. She claimed that they had broken up, but after she heard that Wang Dong had passed out, she hesitated for a minute before deciding to come and pick him up. Wang Dong's mind cleared up a lot when he saw his own girlfriend. He hugged her and broke down in tears as though he was trying to weep his endless grievance out. His girlfriend also teared up in silence. Something must have happened to the two of them recently. Su Yang did not have the curiosity to get to the bottom of everything, thus he did not ask. He sent the two of them off before he walked home alone. Wang Dong's words somehow affected his mood. As he strolled along the sidewalk, Su Yang somehow ended up at the western entrance of the campus. To his surprise, he saw a busker in front of the entrance. The busker was playing his guitar while singing softly. Look into the night, who do you love? They laughed and pushed me around, asking me why I'm drunk. Following the rewind of memories, the thought of you breaks my heart. Everyone wants love, waiting at the countless crossroads. The busker sang quite well. The students passing by would listen for a while, like how Su Yang was, and they donated him some money. Su Yang enjoyed the singing. He stepped forward and put 10 yuan into the guitar box. The busker nodded at him in gratitude while Su Yang smiled and continued listening to the singing. A while later, after the busker finished the first song, he looked at Su Yang. Brother, do you have any song that you want to listen to? I'll sing it for you. Su Yang was surprised. He thought about it for a while and asked, can I give it a go instead? Not expecting Su Yang's request, the busker hesitated for a second before he took the guitar that was strapped to him off with a smile. Su Yang took the guitar. It was heavier than it looked, but it was a lot better than the entry-level guitar that he bought. He put the strap over his shoulder and tested the strings. The quality and tune were great. The students who passed by barely paid attention to the busker singing at the entrance, but when a fellow passerby requested to give it a go, his action captivated a lot of attention. The action turned heads but did not stop the students from moving along. They did not even slow down. Su Yang looked up at the sky. Shanghai's sky was clear today and the stars were glittering. The myriad of stars garnished the dark night with its glimmer, forming a long river of light that soared across the south-east as though the starry torrent was gushing out to 1,000,000 meters away. Further away, the neon lights of Shanghai converged and shone brightly. It seemed like the lights were a reflection of the starry river in the sky. One might not be able to differentiate whether it was the mortal world or the heavens. It was the biggest and most prosperous city in Huaxia. There were countless people who realized their dreams here every single day, and there were also countless people who gave up on everything in life. Su Yang fiddled with the strings softly and closed his eyes. Maybe because the system gave him a musical ability, he felt like venting his emotions through his voice. Even though he knew this song might not belong to Shanghai, the state of mind in the song matched his and Wang Dong's situation perfectly. He slowly opened his eyes and strummed the guitar. His slightly rough voice that sounded lonely started to sing in front of the campus entrance. When I walk on each of these streets, it seems like my heart can never be in peace. Aside from the roaring engines and electrical buzzing, I seem to hear his candlewick heartbeat. Once the expert made a move, the truth would be revealed. The moment Su Yang started singing, the passers-by were attracted by his magnetic and sentimental voice. A couple who was walking to the campus entrance could not help but glance at each other before turning around to Su Yang. A student who walked out of the campus could not help but stop and listen. Even the busker was in awe at Su Yang's singing. His jaw almost fell to the ground. Su Yang's guitar-playing ability made him better than any amateur singer. He was only a step shy from a professional singer. If his voice was heard on the television, people might not be surprised, but when his voice was heard in real life, it shocked everyone instantly. Su Yang also poured his emotions into his singing. The things that happened recently inspired and affected him a lot, including Tang Jing's matter and Tang Dafa's offer. Earlier today, he had even met Wang Dong, who was someone who could have been his future self if he did not have the system. He could not help but sympathize with Wang Dong, so his emotions overflowed as he sang louder. This is where I laugh, this is where I cry. This is where I live and this is where I die. This is where I pray, this is where I feel lost, this is where I searched and this is where I lost myself. The students gathered in a crowd around Su Yang and were deeply affected by his heartfelt singing. Who's this? His singing is out of this world. How can a passerby sing like a professional singer? And it's acoustic. Some smarter ones quietly took their phones out and started to record the performance as they wanted to share the performance with their friends. The busker was also stunned on the spot. He did not expect a random passerby to be able to sing this well. Although the students who gathered might only appreciate how melodious Su Yang's singing was, the busker had practiced music for several years and had been busking for 7 to 8 years. He knew better than anyone that this random passerby's voice, technique, and control were at a professional level. On top of that, the melodious singing was emotions that poured into the tune and overflowed, in fact. Such soulful singing would easily move anyone's heart. If someone like him participated in the Voice of Huaxia, all the mentors might turn around just for him. Today, the busker met someone like that in front of a university.